Okay, looks like we're ready. We're ready. Let's go straight into it. We got someone calling. Hey, Rahul Bat. Rahul Bat, who's calling? What's your name? Where
Can
you?
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Kerith Muir from Jamaica.
Yes, Rahul Bat. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Excellent. Right. So, what's your question for today?
My question is, well, at first, I want to say that I'm not encouraging anybody to take DMT, but for the people that have tried dimethyltryptamine, they claim that they experienced entering into a realm where they witness a clown-like being called a jester. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I can't tell you about what their experience is, but in Wu-Sabat, we don't really encourage anyone to take anything such as DMT. But of course, we know that what it does, it interacts with the area of your brain in the hippocampus region, which is what causes hallucinations. And this is what people take, what they call psychedelic drugs and so forth, so that they can try and experience being on higher dimensions or spiritual encounters and so forth. But of course, everyone's individual experience is going to be different. We know that we teach by way of Partner Babyanun, the master teacher, about your barothry gland that was removed, which gave you the ability to access your higher senses, right? Such as, telepathy, intuition, psychometry, and clairvoyance. And when people induce themselves by taking artificial stimulants, they will have all kinds of experiences. Other people will do things like ayahuasca and so on and so forth, but it's all based on someone taking something to induce a situation or a condition that you can actually access naturally. So we focus on natural nature and natural remedies and not trying to make things happen, you know, by using stimulants. So when you say, can I tell you about, can I tell you about, it's like saying to someone, people will take a drug, right? Even say smoking weed, for example. If you have 10 people in the room and they're all smoking, they're going to have different experiences based on their personal reaction to that stimulant. So even alcohol, anything that is an intoxicant, people are going to react different to it. And it's a personal experience because no one can be in another person's body and mind to experience what they're experiencing at that particular time. So yeah, we deal with everything naturally. And the thing is,
Yes.
if you take something, then you're going to rely on it. Because what happens when you stop taking it? You just go right back to reality.
Yes, but what I'm wondering is that many people claim to see a DMT jester, a clown-like being. So, what are the chances that so many people would experience seeing the same thing?
Well, many people claim many things. It doesn't mean that it's true. So, I mean, okay, so what is the point that you're trying to find out if they're all telling the truth? Or what is the point of your, what
I
exactly do
want
you,
to know if this being that they experience seeing, I want to know if it's a real entity or not.
well, I wouldn't know because I haven't experienced that entity or taken DMT and have the same experience that they're claiming to have. But what I'm answering the question is, we don't advocate that anyway. We don't teach for people to take DMT.
Yes, me too. I don't want people to take it. That's why I started out saying I'm not encouraging anyone to take DMT.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, for people who are claiming that, that's their claim. But the thing is, they see the being, and then what? What does that do for them? What does the being
Well,
do? What's the okay? They see this being. Let's say if we go along with it anyway, and then what?
well, I didn't go any further to find out what this being actually did with them once they entered that realm that they claim they entered.
Right. But we have people claiming all kinds of things every day. You know, it's like you speak to religious people and they make a lot of claims until you start to question them, to substantiate and like give you the details of what, you know, what they're claiming. And it becomes
Yes,
very quickly apparent that it's just a claim. Anybody, it's a belief or a claim. Because anyone can make a belief or claim something, but, you know, what does it do
yes, but
for us?
I I wanted to ask you this though. So the thing about DMT, they since they say it brings your mind into a higher realm, if there are higher realms that your mind could experience by probably you having your barytheric gland or something like that, what is the point of accessing these higher realms?
That's what I asked the question. Okay, they see a being, and then what? That's what I'm saying. It's like people can claim all kinds of things. It's like I said, you can take alcohol, you can take, you know, weed or any type of stimulant or an intoxicant, and make all kinds of claim. But the reality is, then what? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, then what?
Yeah.
It's like the question, another claim, right? A lot of people believe that they see Jesus or that Jesus is going to come, right? That's a claim. That's something that people will tell you that they go into a prayer state or what they consider to be spiritual and they see or meet this being and they say that he spoke to them and he's going to come back. The question is, if he does, then what? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they will say he's going to come back. All right, when he comes back, then what's going to happen? Where, you know, when we go into the details, it's just something that is a belief or it's an hallucination or it's some kind of effect that is affecting, as I said, the area of the brain that causes a lot of imagination, hallucinations, and you have an experience, right?
So there's no substance that can connect your mind to a higher realm.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you can do that naturally. And when you say a higher
Okay.
realm, that's what I'm saying. Which realm are they connecting to?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's like when people say they see beings, right? Let's say some type of being that they say they've seen. But they'll come and ask us questions about that being. And I'll be like, well, why didn't you ask the being the question since you saw the being or you had an encounter with the being? Did you not think to have a conversation with that being to ask them, you know, information, questions like, what's your name? Where are you from? How did you come here? Why do you want to interact with me? You know, speak to the being. We have a being that has incarnated amongst us and we see him, we've touched him, we know he's real. And he's done works and given us answers to questions and given us information way before anybody else was able to do so and still doing so till this day. So if you claim to meet a being, what is that being doing or has it done for you or for humanity? Or is it just you just saw the being, came off your high, and that's it? So you have to question these people. See, with Wu-Sabat, we question people because we are done with the bamboozling and claiming things and no results. We don't get any results. So we decided to take matters into our own hands and deal with actual facts, deal with things that we can substantiate, things that can be proven. And those we can't prove, we leave them in the state of belief until you can prove it. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people make claims. I spoke to somebody this week that came to the store and they made a claim that they speak to Jesus. So I asked them, was he physical or was he in a spiritual state? Is he a spirit or is he physical? Because if you don't have lips and you don't have a larynx and you don't have the ability to speak, how are you speaking to this person? And how they're responding back to you? You follow me?
Yes.
So with Wu-Sabat, we like to get to the bottom of everything, the details. And if you can't prove it, and you're just wanting us to believe you, we don't just believe people for the sake of believing it. You can believe it for yourself and with those who will accept and believe it with you, but we don't do that because we know that belief is based on not knowing or things you can't prove. So what I'm saying to you is there are many people around the world right now taking all kinds of substances, whether it's DMT, doing ayahuasca, taking alcohol, smoking weed, taking crack, cocaine, whatever substance they're taking, they're going to have an experience. And then everyone has a different experience. And when they come off the high, they have to face reality, go back to reality and deal with reality. So what I would say to you
Okay.
is, yeah, it's not even worth, entertaining it. And if they make a claim, ask them these questions I'm asking you. I've had many conversations with people that claimed to see this and that. And I ask them very basic questions like, okay, you saw Jesus. I've had this one many times. I say, what complexion was he? What was his hair type? What did he look like? How tall was he? What was his weight? These are basic questions. And they will say they don't know. and all of a sudden it gets into a thing of, because they can't answer the questions, then it's just like, you have to have faith. Just accept what I say. And we don't do that because we've given religion 6,000 years and hasn't yielded any results.
Okay, but listen to this. So what the reason why I came on here and asked this question is because I was wondering, like, if your mind gets altered or if your mind gets put in an altered state when you take a certain substance,
Right.
that could cause certain beings or entities to connect with you when your mind is in an altered state.
That's
That I was
correct.
wondering if that was possible.
Yes, that is possible. This is what we say, that when you're intoxicated, right, you're vibrating on a frequency that some of these beings are vibrating on. They can then resonate with you and can walk into you, right? These beings are called walk-ins, where they will walk into you and take control of your vessel. Even what you think, you are accessing something called the mental reservoir, which we all tap into. So you can tap into negative thoughts. It only takes 3 seconds, right, for a being to read your thoughts and read your energy field, as in your aura, and they will see that you're vibrating on the frequency that is conducive to them, and they can take over your being. Yes, this is why people would do many things by hearing voices in their head and then doing something, and will say that a voice in their head told them to do so, and then that
Yes.
being can leave them. There's a movie called Fallen with Denzel Washington that you can watch that gives you a clear kind of depiction of entities jumping from one being or one vessel to another. You see, so these things are definitely possible. You have many entities even music does this to you, because music is also on particular frequencies that these beings can actually ride that wave into your being.
Oh, interesting to know. Thank you.
We have many, many scrolls, right, that go into that subject. You know, Feeding the Forces. There's an actual fact called Feeding the Forces that you can read. We have others as well, that deal with, spirit, 30 spirits. That's another one. Spirit, soul force. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, we have many scrolls that go into the details of your question. So if I were you, I would try and get hold of those scrolls as well. All right?
Yes.
Okay. Was that it, or do you have any other question?
Okay. One last one.
Okay.
So you said that instead of taking substances, a person can naturally connect themselves to a higher plane of existence through the barotheric gland or whatever,
Not just through the
or
barotheric gland.
whatever other way. So, since that's the case, if you access a higher realm through the natural methods, what is the point of accessing that realm? What does it do for you personally?
Okay. I didn't say that it's only through the barotheric gland. You're connected to all these realms at the same time, even now. What it is that many people have been taught to not focus on themselves or their inner being, to realize that the real you is not just the physical shell that you see. This is your skin suit, but you have many beings in one that are a part of you. Like, we call that spirit, we call that soul, we call that these other beings, the mental, the etheric being. It's just that when you've been taught to focus your attention externally and to others, then you're not aware that you can tap into yourself, and that sit in silence, sit in meditation, and you can access and communicate with your ancestors, for example, who also exist on these realms, because we all know energy cannot be destroyed, right? So energy is at different vibrations and different densities at different levels and in different dimensions. So you can actually access and speak to these beings if you yourself are in tune with that. So it's not like you have to just have your barotheric gland. You can do it now. This is why people do things like meditation, and go into what they call alpha waves, and go into, different states where you're then using your mind, where you're now connected purely by your mind to the mental realm. And with serious concentration, you can actually do these things. And we teach, this is what the real spiritual teachings of most beings that know how to do that are masters, right? They teach this. So most people that were about real spirituality will go to these teachings, and they will call them things like, in the different religions, they refer to them like differently, like the Sufi when you look at Islam, or the Essenes, the order of the Essenes when you look at Christianity. And there are many other orders, the order of Melchizedek, there are many orders that beings that are vibrating, such as the being known as Tahuti, who is a very intelligent, one of the most intelligent beings, was teaching people through this different schools, you see. So you can be taught this if you're really about, sincere about learning the deeper meanings and inner parts of your being.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Until next time, take care. All right. Let's look at the chat until we get another caller. Yeah, remember, we just kind of went straight into the questions and the call. But remember, we have to make the main thing the main thing. It's all about the freedom of Partner Babyanun, Dr. Malachi ZK York. Yeah? We see people from all over the world watching from Delta, Nigeria in the house. Great having you on board. All right, here's a question. Right, what do you think about the diet OMAD, 1 meal a day? Yeah, the thing about diets, you see the word DIE, diet. Diets, again, like the previous caller, are based on the individual person, right? What people try to do is have a one size fits all approach to things. And it doesn't work that way, especially, because you got different types of people, different compositions. Some people their health might not be the same. Some people are allergic to things. So when it comes to the 1 meal a day, of course, the way we're living now, a lot of the things that we're consuming, if you are not growing it yourself from scratch and you know what's inside of it, even then, you might have to buy seeds to be able to actually plant whatever you're going to eat. Now that's going to the extreme. Most people do not plant and grow their own food. And what you're buying, you don't know its origin or how it has been produced. There are many chemicals, many things like fertilizers and things that they use, pesticides, and everyone's system is different. So you can be given guidelines when it comes to diet, but what I'm saying is the less you eat, going back to the 1 meal a day, the less you eat means you're actually reducing the intake of most of these chemicals, because some of the things you're seeing are what? Artificial, right? Genetically modified. You have to start reading labels carefully. You see E numbers. Most people don't check out what the E numbers mean, right? So, if you've watched the documentary, our documentary, if you haven't, you will see we had a master chef on there, and she promoted an app that you can use to check ingredients and so forth. But the point is, the less you eat, the less intake of these chemicals, artificial things you're putting into your body. So the less you eat, the less your digestive system has to work, the less of these chemicals you're storing in your body. So yes, it all depends on the person. I know a lot of people that eat 1 meal a day and they're fine. But the way you've been given instructions all your life is to have 3 meals a day, because this ties into the people, places and things, right? That is, the whole concept of morning, afternoon, evening. So you have breakfast, lunch, then supper. Everything is in threes, yeah? And it just has you in that state of you're just following a system. So not everybody, if you know how your whole, check out the circadian rhythm. Your body is designed to intake food at particular times and to digest that food and then to eliminate that food. So really, if you understand your body and understand the cycles, you would not be eating during the time where your body is not able to digest the food, like late at night. This is why most people who teach on nutrition and diet, they'll tell you don't eat after 9 p.m., right? And if you break down the 24 hours into 3 8-hour slots, so that's 8 plus 8, 16 plus another 8 gives you 24. So you have 8 hours, right, where you shouldn't eat, 8 hours where you should eat, and 8 hours where you should allow the food to, so elimination. So intaking, you do that, let's say from 12 p.m. But then you'll be taught that you need breakfast. If you don't have a good breakfast, then you're not going to function well, etc. That doesn't work for everyone. When you after 9 p.m., you're in what we'll call a fasting state, right? Because you're not eating during that time. And that's when your body actually works. You have to also understand the functions of your body, like the liver, the lungs, and what do they do, you see? So you have to give time for those things to work. It's like, you wouldn't, it's like you wouldn't be putting something into the same hole that stuff's meant to be coming out at the same time. Doesn't make sense. So people will say, breakfast, you're breaking your fast that you've been fasting throughout. That's why they call it breakfast. Some people just say breakfast, and I've never really thought about the fact that you're breaking your fast. So there's a time for fasting, a time for intake, and a time to allow the food to digest. And so, yeah, I'm saying to you, in terms of 1 meal a day, it's a matter of preference on the person, because some people can't fast for 1 day. You see, others fast for, there's Islamic practices, they fast during Ramadan. For some people, they can't do that. And there are different types of fasting, you see. So, yeah, that 1 meal a day is not something that it's like a have to do. But if it works for you and your body and your circadian rhythm and your digestive system and everything works and you can survive, then yeah, you can do that. But it's not something, we don't dictate to people what to do. And, the master teacher gives us guidelines, what is best for you to do. And it's down to you whether or not you follow it. Okay, we got another call. Okay, let's go. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. So I called last week and I asked about the asteroid impact, and shortly after I saw a video on YouTube from those scientists, and they said that they actually confirmed that there will be a near miss actually in 2029.
Right.
So I think that's kind of crazy where you guys say it and then it's verified by actually by like scientists, the guys who
Right.
put out a lot of scientific content. My question is, how did Dr. York know this, or when was this new information, or did this come out in the early times? You keep mentioning like the 70s and in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, let me go back to the first point you made. Remember, yeah, he's always right, and he's always way ahead of time. And it's
clearly
in our books. Now, they say it's going to be a near miss. Now, again, we've said on record, I remember when we told everyone that Trump was going to come back in office. And
I
because
remember that as
we
well.
knew that. We knew things about before Obama was even selected. It's in this book here, right here. My brother, the extraterrestrials, told you about Obama becoming president way before he did. Now, what I want to say about your comment is that he actually said they're gonna say it's gonna be a near miss, but he said no, it's not gonna be a near miss. It's going to hit. You see, so this is where when we say things, you have to, like, we shouldn't even really be waiting, because we've known many things way before they happen, and when they do, then everyone tries to panic and run, and but the question of how does he know this? He is a visitor to this planet, and because he's a visitor as an extraterrestrial, he comes from our future, as in the being Yanun, right? And he's already, remember we say, as Nagaru or Nagaranadu, right? It's the word in our language for Negroid. We have the ability to travel back in time and forward in time. And he's already explained and broken this down. So it is possible for you to travel, because time based, the thing is, people keep talking about, for example, when people are obsessed with a beginning, because people keep asking questions like, who created God? Or, where did we come from? Who was the first person? And that's only because you have a concept of something called time. Because if you didn't have time, you wouldn't be able to say beginning and end. You wouldn't be able to say alpha and omega. You wouldn't be able to know like how old you are, because you're only basing your age around the fact that there's this concept of time where the planet revolves around the sun, and one rotation gives you what they say 1 year. But even that, it's not accurate, because 1 year changes where you have leap years, and time changes in the summer, and so on. In the winter they add an hour here, so you're not even actually sure of what day or time or age you really are, because you're just going by a concept. So because we can travel, because matter, time and space work in conjunction, they're inseparable. So it's more like a spiral, right? So you can go back and forth. But the thing is, you have to know that traveling into the future affects your current, what you consider time now, in terms of how long you will be here. But traveling back in time, it's okay. So yes, to answer your question, as a visitor, as an extraterrestrial from way, 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 way beyond our ability to comprehend in terms of time, because even if you pick up any of the books like the Holy Tablets or even the Black Book, he explains that we come from, as in these beings, we come from a time period that is so far beyond your comprehension at this time. You see, so you have to know that you're dealing with beings that have so much intelligence that they come out of our time zone. To travel intergalactically means that you're not you're not subjected to the rules or the time belt that we're in, or what we call in time. You follow me? So yeah, I know I'm giving you a lot more, but he is not from here. He's a visitor that knows our past and our future, as the being known as Tahuti, who throughout every time, every culture, he's there. You see him reincarnating all the time, especially when we get to certain periods in our evolution, such as what we're saying now, the new cycle of the 24,000 years, known as the equinox, or people call the gold cycle, or the golden time, or the consciousness of the people on the planet is rising because this new information comes in. All right, I hope that helps.
Yeah, I get it. So you're saying that he pretty much saw it. He was there. He existed in that time. He then came back
Right,
to,
to
the
warn
80s,
us.
90s to warn us that this disaster is impending.
Yes, you can hear recordings on YouTube. You can him telling you about. There's a recording called "Who and What You Are" on YouTube, that you hear him explaining this, and that's why he was like, I've been sent here to prepare you all. You hear many people that have encounters with extraterrestrials, if they get abducted or whatever. And this is from different people, different races, in different parts of the world. They will tell you that extraterrestrials they encountered warned them about where we're heading as humanity, and that we have to change our course or direction, or else we're going to head for disaster. And that's in what we're doing to the planet, in terms of the poisoning the waters, the resources, the trees, cutting down trees. We're killing the animals for food. There are lots of things we're poisoning with all these, like aerosol, causing the ozone layer to deplete. Many things man is doing that is bringing about even the AI now. They're telling you AI, right? If we're not careful, they show you this in movies like Terminator, in movies like The Matrix. It's all about allowing technology to get to a point where it's out of control. And they're telling you now AI is the biggest threat because you've got AI that's fighting AI now, and it's getting to that point where if we're not careful, even, you know, your guy, the guy that is got the rocket ships going up, he's saying that the biggest threat is AI. So I'm just saying that to say there are many people that get abducted by extraterrestrials that warn them and tell them things that are going to happen in the future, and that to share and warn humanity to stop going down the road we're going down. So yes, they're able to come back in time and warn us so that they can help us prevent us destroying ourselves in the future, in our future.
I see. One final question then.
Sure.
So help me understand. If he can see the future, past and future, then we shouldn't be asking for Dr. York to be free, because he already knew that this was going to happen, and he already knows how and when he'll be free.
100%. But then you have to remember there are other beings, other councils, like in terms of the grand scheme of things, and the point is for us to elevate to a point where we are worthy. Because what you have to remember, this planet has already had judgment in terms of should it be destroyed, right? Should they allow it, or allow us to destroy ourselves? And you know, just like how if there was a problem on the planet, you will have like the United Nations or beings that represent different sovereign nations will come together to try and solve the problem. On a galactical level, this is what happens where you have the Galactic Federation that came together and they decided they were going to allow the planet to be destroyed. But then another opposition was put forth to say that, you know, we can send somebody to come and teach people so that they can learn and then avoid the planet being destroyed. And that's why they sent many warners in time, and he came to help us. So really, it's a test for us. It's a test for us because the test is simple. Are you people on the planet going to raise your consciousness to a level where you really understand that if you unite and come together in love and unity and stop doing the things that will destroy you, you will be protected and given leave to continue your development, right? But if you don't, sometimes, like for example, when the First World War and the Second World War took place, the extraterrestrial beings interjected, because remember, there are other beings on the planet apart from us, other extraterrestrial beings that have been living here for millions of years, in the deep seas, in the air, in the caverns, on the surface, that also have a stake on this planet. So when we say that it's an intergalactical federation meeting and conversation, it's also about saving those beings. So really, you're right that he knows our test is to see if we are worthy. That's why all the religious books will tell you about many a core few were chosen, the 144,000, because some of these extraterrestrials have had children. We are the children of these extraterrestrials. And as their children, they want to save us. And some of us, right, have to show that we're worthy. If we keep doing the things that, so I can hear some feedback, if we keep doing the things that are putting us on that path to destruction, then of course, you know, it's down to us. This is what FATE, fate, not faith, as religion preaches. Our fate is in our own hands. That's why we do what we do, because knowing the truth means that you can actually try your best to change and do something about it so that you can be worthy to be saved. If not, we're judged as a species and we may not make it. And that's what he's saying is like, for him, he can go anytime he wants, as in the being Yanun. But he's the one that pleaded with the council to save us. And he's put his own life on the line many times, you know, and yeah, just to say, look, there are those here on this planet that will listen and take heed. And there are
So
those that don't.
so essentially it's a test.
For
So
us,
he knows, and our test is to advocate for him to get him
our test is to free him.
out.
Yeah, to show that we can come together in unity and with love and do the right thing. It's almost like, I use this example. If you go to university or to college or you take a course, the way they know the people that are actually testing you to see if you've actually made the grade is to give you a test at the end, right? You call this exams or whatever. That's to establish whether or not you've learned what you spent 4 years or whatever studying, so that you can be given a certificate to say you're now qualified to go and practice whatever it is you've studied. So if you don't pass, then you failed. So are we going to pass or are we going to fail? That's the question.
I I think I kind of understand the last part, like the first part about like the asteroid impact. That makes sense, you know. If there are entities that actually can time travel, you know, and give him this information, then yeah, that's cool. But say, you know, it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around that this being who knows the past and the future, that he would actually want. You know, I don't think he needs our help, that he would want our help, and that he would want us to unite, you know, to get him out of, you know, I think there, and this is my opinion, I think there are more productive ways to get us to unite rather than
Right. Well, you're
coming
not.
together
I hear
and
what you're saying, but again, it's like you're not the person or the being in the position to make that judgment to say I think there's better ways. Just what I mean. That's the way
but I'm
they've
a part
chose.
of the populace. I'm a part of the 8 million
Yeah, but
people,
yeah, I
and
know.
that's, you
But what I'm
know, and that's
saying
what
is,
we're. Yeah.
yeah, they're supreme beings that make decisions. It's just like when people say, well, you know, why don't, if you start to question God, like why doesn't God get rid of all the problems on the planet?
Hmm.
You see what I mean? Like, that's a very simple question. Why doesn't he? And I'm saying sometimes we try to put ourselves in the positions of these beings that are far more intelligent, far more like intellectually advanced than we are, and we
Got
don't
it.
really know their plan or the full plan of why they're doing certain things, and but they know. So I'm saying if they thought there was another way or a better way, or then they would have used that way. So
I see.
we
I
can't
see.
speak for them is what I'm saying. But at the same time, we're being taught by the most intelligent being. So you can take heed and listen or you don't. But who are you going to go and listen to? Who are you going to follow in that regard? Like, because if he knows the way and is telling you the way and he's proven that he's from the past by just the works he's done, the information he's put out, that way before its time. So, like we say, there's no one on the planet right now who knows the way, who is able to do what he does or has done. And anyone you can name, we can put them to the test. Past, present, or future. So this is why no one can do what he does. The way you have to remember as well is that the beings that want to silence him, that want to stop the message getting out, they're also there. You got, you know, what we call the adverse or disagreeable forces too, that have a job to do, and they're doing their job. So it's about Michael and his angels warring against the dragon and his angels. but it tells
Oh,
you
I see.
it tells you who
So
prevails.
so can I think my misunderstanding was that I was thinking that Yanun, that he was the most powerful being, but it sounds like there are other more powerful beings above him.
Which ones?
I mean I don't know. You're the
Right.
one
So
who's
that's what I'm
saying that
saying
there
is,
are,
no, I didn't say more powerful. I said that
but you said
there is no
there's a
other.
council
Right. A
and
council doesn't necessarily mean that you're more powerful. It just means that you're working together.
so is he the most powerful being?
Yes, he is. That's why I said there's no one else like him who is able to do the works that he has does or that he's doing, dead or alive. And I will say, if you know or know someone like that, let us know. Tell us who that is. And we
Yeah,
put this
I do not know anyone even
right. We
remotely
put this
close.
question.
Yeah,
We put this
yeah,
question to the world, not just you. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
when we say that, no one can tell us. And if they're gonna tell us someone, they're gonna tell us someone like God, Allah, the Most High, which are all in books that someone has written.
Right.
And then when we go and actually dissect who you're calling God, Allah, Elohim, Yahweh, Moses, Jesus, when we dissect who they are, give you the actual facts, you see that all of them were after the order of Melchizedek. Because Melchizedek is Malachi Zodok. Malachi Z Zodok, right? So I'm saying to you that Jesus was called a prince. Melchizedek was known as the king of peace, king of Salem. What's greater, a prince or a king?
My understanding is that the king is
Right.
greater.
That's what I'm saying. You go and look at Moses. Moses was taught in Egypt by this being called Tahuti. That's where his name comes from, Tahutimus. Who the Tahuti is the same being, in the incarnation of the same being we're talking about. So yeah, we know who he is, but what I'm saying to you is it's not about him, it's about us in terms of he's always been here. He can leave anytime and go back to risk or go back to, wherever he wants to. But we can't. We're trapped here. And our development is to become the real beings that we really are internally. And you're going to do that by working on yourself, cleaning yourself inside out and inside and outside in.
I definitely appreciate all the info, brother Sakin.
No problem.
Um, a part of this, the reason why I'm asking these questions
We're
is
going to
because
go.
I do try to spread the Wu-Sabat with the people I work with, people I surround myself with. But this aspect is a part that I struggle with. Like, I cannot distinguish between Dr. York and Yanun. So is there a video that I could like go back to and where you break it down so
Oh,
I
yeah.
can?
There are many. We break it down, go on OSM Vision. Are you in the
Mhm.
Telegram group?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Yeah, we'll post the links. But the thing is, like you say, right? People try to make this into some spooky thing. But everybody has a being within their physical body that you look at yourself in the mirror and you can touch your face. But if you were to really stare in the mirror and look at yourself and ask, are you and the being that's looking back at you from the mirror the same being? And if your physical body is animated right now, and when you cross over, or what people call die, something leaves your body, right? So
Yes.
what is that? That's the being that people say is the real you that goes to heaven or goes to hell.
Right. That I call that the I.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the same way you have a soul, for those who haven't lost it, it's that same being, that soul being, that being within you is the same like Dr. Malachi Z. York having a physical body born of a male and a female, but the being that we're talking about, that's the being Yanun that has actually like manifested in his physical body. That's the being that guides his pen. That's the guide. The one that helps to write all these books that you see with the information that goes way beyond the different time zones that you know, into the past, into the present, into the future, to the point where you have pictures of everybody in the books. So how is
Right.
that possible if you don't know these people and haven't seen them? And no one else is able to come up with a picture to say, no, actually, this is what the person looks like. And if
Right. Yeah.
they do, it's going to be like people say, oh, he puts black people's pictures in the books. But you look at the books, he has pictures of everyone, every race, and every time period. So, anyway, yeah. So I hope that's helped you. But in terms of studying, when you read the books, you will feel that connection with this being. And whether people accept it, like it or not, it's the reality that they have to face up to.
Absolutely.
All right? I hope that
I
helped.
appreciate it. It definitely clarified a lot. Thank you so much for your time, brothers,
No
again.
problem. Anytime. Wadu. Okay, right. We go check the chat because we spent a lot of time on that. Oh, someone else?
No, I'm cool then.
Okay. All right. Let me see if we can get through some more of these questions. And yeah, what I would say to people, anything that doesn't sit well with you in terms of you need clarity or more information, you have to keep probing and asking the question until things are clear for you, because it's got to make sense to you in your head, right? You're putting the puzzle together for yourself. So don't think, because someone else has a conviction or their experience, you just buy into their experience. It's got to be your experience. Okay, in the meantime, what is the connection between... Okay, we got a call.
Yeah, how's it going there?
Greetings, Rahubat. What's your name? Where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Oh, I'm actually okay, I'm live. Yeah, how's it
Yes,
going
live.
there, big brother second?
Hey,
It's
I'm...
T in it. Yeah, man, cool.
Rahubat, yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's been a while still.
Oh, is it T?
I had a question, yeah. Yes, brother.
Oh, good. I was going to call you today because the phone is working. Yeah, let me let everyone know the store phone is back working. We had a little technical issue with the phone, but it's all working now. But yeah, because I know you were trying to get through the other day and you couldn't. That's why I just remembered. But go ahead, Jamal.
Yeah, no, but I had a question, yeah, which I'll relate to you in a moment. But based on what the conversation that you just had, yeah, with the other caller, like literally, you kind of just touched on something that I wasn't thinking about,
Right.
which is like you're saying like that the master teacher now, he's got a different being inside him, yeah. That's why he's able to do and know the things that he's doing now.
He
And I
says
thought,
that
hold on a
himself.
minute.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, whoa, so hold on a minute. Look how many people are on the planet. So I'm like, so is that the same for us as well then?
Yeah, that's what I
Our
was trying to
being.
explain to people, that
Oh my
the
gosh,
real
bro.
you
This is
is
like,
not this physical you that you're looking at. And that's why people don't get to know that being that's within themselves.
wow, bro.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. That's why they teach you to look externally, look outside to someone
Ah,
else,
bro.
worship somebody
No,
else.
bro.
Yeah.
Thought about this, yeah. This is too, bro. Bro. You're touching on some things, man. It's like, I can't even speak to you right now, brother. You've just touched on something, brother. It's too much. I'm gonna have to jump off, bro.
That's
Sorry
cool.
about this, brother.
That's all right. It's
I'll
all right.
speak to you later.
It's all.
I'll
It's
speak to you later, brother. Yo, I'll call you back another
yeah.
time. I'll
No
speak to you soon.
problem, man.
Thank you.
No problem. That realization, like the DNA explosion, when you that truth hits you, that's what happens. It's real. Okay, next caller. Greetings, Rahubat. How you doing? What's...
They hung up.
They hung up. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just reading. Oh, whenever I get... Sorry, I missed that. Oh, you know what's happened, yeah? The questions are jumping in front of others. What is the connection between... Oh, let me... Front row. That's we'll put the links in the chat for the stores. You said, where can I purchase a few of those knowledgeable books? We have stores, and they're on the website. We're going to post a link for you, all right? What is, this is Check Chaser. What is the connection between the Anunnaki and the concept of the divine spark or soul in humans? Okay, so again, concept. We don't really deal with concepts. And when you say the divine spark or soul in human beings, it's like the Anunnaki. When people say the Anunnaki, again, that's just a term. All right, let's take this call. We'll come back to that. Check Chaser. Greetings, Rahubat. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please? Tua, we can hear you, Rahubat.
Hi, guys. I missed you guys. I've been so busy lately.
That's okay. We miss you too.
I got a question for Sakin. Is that you?
Tua, who's calling? Where you calling from?
This is Seven, and I'm calling from Atlanta again. I
All right,
spoke a
yes,
few
7.
times.
Right, this,
Okay,
it's
so
okay.
Sakin, I know you have said this plenty of times,
Mm-hmm.
but I need clarification. It's actually for my best friend. Her name is Rosalind. Can you say hi to her?
Hey, Rosalind. You got
So
me
she
saying it
wants
in
to
your accent
know.
now.
Thank you. So she wants to know if you guys believe in Jesus, because she read that you guys believe that Dr. Malachi is Jesus, but I'm telling her that he is the messenger for us, but he's not the Jesus that the world think about, saving people, saving their sins and things like that. So can
Yeah.
you just explain
Let me
to
answer
both
that.
of us? Okay.
There's nowhere you're going to find Dr. York saying he's Jesus. In no scrolls, nothing he's ever put out where he says he is Jesus. So
Okay.
that's misinformation. That's not correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right? The
Mm-hmm.
point is that when we start to look at who people call Jesus, most people can't even substantiate or prove that he existed, apart from going by what we call hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't
Can't
go
tell my
to,
best friend that.
yeah, you can't go to court and go by hearsay. You have to
Mm-hmm.
produce evidence and facts. You see, so I suppose if you ask a direct question, we can answer it. Now, the problem is that the books that people are reading, they interpret everything in the book to be Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
When many parts of the book is not even referring or speaking about Jesus. Case in point, the book of Revelations, which is supposed to be the last book or the book of the end times, the Apocrypha,
Mm-hmm.
as some people refer to it. When you read that book, it tells you clearly in the first verse, right? First chapter,
Mm-hmm.
it's a book that it's telling you that it's the book of Jesus, yeah, that John
Mm-hmm.
received, and he saw visions and it sent it through his angel. The word angel, when you go into the actual language of the book being translated into English, the word
Mm-hmm.
is Malachi, my
Okay.
angel. That's what the word Malachi means, my angel, right?
Okay.
So that
Mm-hmm.
Malachi is going to come before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. You see? And when
Okay.
you ask
Yes.
people, well, who is this angel that is talking about that is going to be sent before this time? They can't answer the question. That
Mm-hmm.
angel is
Mm-hmm.
Malachi. And in the books of Malachi, which is the last book, imagine the Revelation is the last book in the New Testament, and the books
Mm-hmm.
of Malachi are the last book in the book that what they call the Old Testament. So
Okay.
that's not
Okay.
a coincidence that the book of Malachi, I'd read Malachi chapter 4, verse 2. It tells you, right, that the
Mm-hmm.
Son of Righteousness will come with healing in his wings. Not S-O-N, it actually literally says S-U-N. And when you
Okay.
start to look at that sun, we're talking about coming with the sun cycle, the period we're in right now, which everyone was speaking about, that came into effect from the year 2000 AD.
Okay.
So when you start to look at when this angel comes, it tells you that he will open what they call the seventh seal. Because the seventh seal, once that's broken, that's the seal that was put on this end days and time when Daniel received his vision and he was explaining what's going to be happening in the future. And he said, no, seal it up until that time when this being is given the permission to open the seal. That's known as the seventh seal. And that was opened by Malachi, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, in the year 1970 AD. Since then, truth will come into the world and all false things will start to perish. And everything that you've ever wanted to know about what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, that what people call the end of the world, etc., will be revealed. And that's exactly what Dr. York has been doing from the 1970s till now, to the point where all truths are being revealed. And that's his job, to give you the truth about everything you would like to know, whether it's physical or spiritual. And this is being done by the angel that is guiding his pen. And in the Bible, that angel is referred to as what? Malachi or Michael in Arabic, or in Sumeria, Marduk or Murdoch. This angel is the one that is coming, and when that angel comes, he will tell you the truth. And that's what's been happening. And that's why he's able to answer everybody's questions. And he stood before the world and asked anyone who has a question to come and ask him about anything. And that's where we're at. And we as student teachers, we've learned and been taught. And it's our job now to help spread the word and spread the truth.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
the truth,
Thank you.
nothing can stand against the truth. That's why we're able to put ourselves forward, because there are people who don't want the truth. People want to live in lies and beliefs and believe that someone's coming to save them, and they're being idle. They're not doing anything. They're just thinking, oh, Jesus came and died for my sins, so now I'm going to heaven. When it's a deception, because nobody can die for your sins. No one has died to come back and tell you that. Number two, if he came to remove sin from the world, and that was the whole point of his being a sacrifice,
why we still have sin?
Why we still have sin? Yeah. So your friend, you care about her. You've got to get her to start to read and get the actual facts, get the truth, so she can make a judgment for herself, not following the blind leading the blind.
Right, Saken, right. And one more question, what would you say to a person if they say they believe that all the Jesus that people talk about existed?
That's what I'm saying. A belief is a belief. You can believe anything you want. You can say, pigs can fly, and I believe this and I believe that. That's the word that is used to hide behind, because anybody can have a belief about anything, which is fine. But just remember, it's your belief. And you can't get
that don't make it true.
Right, it doesn't make it true. And just because you believe something, you don't get me to follow you blindly and believe what you believe. Because I want to know. Listen to the word know, knowledge. The first part of the word knowledge is to know. And that's what happened when the story in the Bible of Genesis with Adam and Eve, they ate the fruit of knowledge, not the fruit of belief. And when they did, their eyes were open to know good from evil. But at the moment, a lot of people are under the word belief or believe, which has lie right in the middle of the word.
It does.
But they don't want to accept that, but they want to accept lies. Why? How do we know they're lies? Because we can disprove it so easily.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Saken.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you. And yes, peace to you, Saken. I listen. I tune into everything y'all put out and everything, and I'm trying to put it in the best way for my friend, because one more thing, because
Sure.
way back when we first discovered everything, me and her, we had a disagreement about the one verse in the Bible where it said that. No, I asked her, do she believe if the slave can pray to the same God as the slave master and be
Yeah.
delivered? And she says yes, she thinks so, and that just threw me for a loop forever.
Yeah, but then when you start to look at how you're enslaved and who's enslaving you, like it doesn't make sense. If you
It
really think
doesn't.
about it, it really doesn't make sense because in these religious books they tell you that it's okay to have slaves.
Right. And it's not.
Of course, it's
It's
not.
not.
Who likes to be enslaved?
Right. Yes. Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ken. I won't hold you. I know other people
It's
want to
okay,
call and
right?
ask questions. And if I have any more, I will not hesitate to call because I really appreciate you guys answering questions to the T, you know?
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Take
Appreciate love you
care.
too. Take care.
Okay, bye
Wadu.
bye.
Wadu. Okay. Any other ones? Okay, let's go back to the yeah, I was trying to answer the Anunnaki question. The soul, the spark of I'm trying to find the question. The spark, the spark of I want to read the question as it's written so that I don't get it wrong. Um, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It was the question about the Anunnaki and the spark of. Oh man, another call's come through.
I'm calling them,
Oh, okay.
but it's disconnected.
All right, cool. I can't find the question. It's about the Anunnaki and the spark.
I'm gonna put you on live, yeah? I'm gonna put you on the live.
Okay, we're gonna get another live.
Yeah, you ready? Go ahead. We got
Hold on.
we got a caller.
Oh, right, right. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
Robert Jamal.
Robot.
So here.
Oh,
Robert.
Robot Saru. What's happening?
So good, so good.
The
Yeah,
traveling
before
man, the
today, just
traveling
about
man, Asaru.
to break it down.
No
Yeah,
problem.
I'm glad you're holding the pool,
You
representing.
you know how
Yeah,
we
we want
do.
to show these people how Wu-Sabat.
You're
Go
breaking up a
on.
bit. Go ahead. You still there?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's better. You were better just now. You know what's funny? Yeah? Our
Can
English
you hear
accent.
me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Hold on.
My sister, that the chef, when I heard her saying butter, it just reminded me of how we speak. I have to remember we got worldwide. When we say butter or better, that's just like, the English accent. We actually mean better and butter. Has he gone? Is he still on the line? All right, he's gone. So let's go back to the go back to finding that question. Volta, you're a joker. How can you say we hate ourselves and Black history when we are the ones that are putting out all the knowledge regarding who you are, where you're from, with all the documentation that you can check out? And when you use the word Kemet, that is a European word that was given to you. People that are teaching you about Kemet that are not themselves original or from the land. That's funny because a lot of people will quote Europeans as if, they're the authority on Egypt. Oh, man. Yeah, we put out the information and we put ourselves to be available to be scrutinized. And you can follow whatever you can be a minion for your master, your puppet master if you want. I'm trying to find that a question, can't find the question. All right, let's keep going. Let's not feed the force of people that are just ignorant and don't have a question or not about Wu-Sabat. Why are you even on the channel? Go and do something else. All right, let's keep going. How does one verify a planet called Risk outside of Dr. York's doctrine? All right, good question. 1-9. So that's what we like. We like people to actually ask questions. Right. When the way I would answer that question is this, yeah? How do you verify anything you know? Because you accept that there are other planets like Jupiter, Mars, etc. How do you verify those planets? How do you verify that those planets exist? Or are you saying that because the European tells you that in the books that they write, then you accept it? But the thing is, you can actually go back and actually study, right, ancient texts and study. I don't even know what background you come from, but a lot of people will say this thing like, how does Dr. York know all the information he knows and how does he get it? Look, he publishes books that anybody can read. And the books that you read are also published like just like anyone else on the planet that writes books, whether you want to follow Zachariah Sitchin or whoever is out there writing books. Why do you accept what they say, right? Name any of the authors or writers, right? You can follow people like Henry Clark, Diop, Dr. Ben. We can name all the authors that write stuff that people will listen to and follow. And you ask, how did they get their knowledge? And their knowledge only goes so far because they can't tell you information about things outside of the planet. As I said at the beginning, Dr. York is a visitor and he's able to give you information. Like you say, he mentioned the planet Risk and he gave a description. He put out books, he got pictures, right? Way before. And he told you that Risk is in a tri-solar system, meaning that there are 3 suns. And by the time he was saying this, the scientific world hadn't verified tri-solar systems, but today they have. If you go back and read the Black Book, he actually mentions it in there. In fact, let me just grab it, right? This was way before they started to talk about tri-solar systems. Now, how did he know about that way before they came? So there are many things he says. You don't have to accept it. And the things that, this is what people do, the things that he does say that reason out, factually people find, they will try and look for the things that they try to say doesn't match up. But then look at the 90% of information that is put out that is verifiable. And the ones that are not verifiable will come later. Let me just read you a little bit from this Black Book known as the Sacred Records of Atom Ray. Right? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he was talking about, you know, what took place on Risk. In fact, let me read it. Yeah, we got time. Let me read it. Okay. I'm going to read this. It's only, call it 2 pages, right? Right. Introduction of the Black Book. Before time as you know it was logged, beings existed in and out of this dimension. Worlds existed. Planets were inhabited by intelligent and not so intelligent beings who all lived in their own time zones based on their locations in this vast, boundless universes. Each place is in itself the place or origin of time, as in the word then, which becomes past and present simultaneously. These were agreeable and disagreeable beings. This was a system that was very similar to that presently on Earth, called the chain of existence that existed. Whereas stars burnt out, planets died, and beings had to seek residence in other star systems. Oftentimes, we developed new survival tactics, eating habits, and even genetic alterations and manipulations to make it possible for us to exist in environments unsuited for our biological existence. We oftentimes had to alter environments, create climates and seasons. Oftentimes, the survival of one being meant the extinction of another. One of these such star system was Risk, right? The planet Risk. A planet in the 19th galaxy, the 8th planet of a 3-sun system, which was inhabited by the Riskians, also called the Natiru. The 3 suns of this planet Risk were known in time by different names, right? The most common being Atum, Atun, and Amun, referred to as the Ra, rays. The Sumerians called them, the 3 suns, Utu, Afsu, and Shamash. When this planet Risk was visited by disagreeable beings from a dying star, they were welcomed into this great empire. Those that welcomed them were called Natiru, right? The Sumerians called them Anutu. The Council of 9 Enneads of the pre-dynastic periods, this is what we're saying, pre the 46 dynasties that you're taught about that becomes Kemet and Egypt and all of these names that you're referring to. Before man was called man, these deities met with open arms and they passed our decision on to the 24 elders of Risk, who passed it on to the 144 governors of the 18th and 19th galaxies, 72 governors of the disagreeable 18th galaxy, and 72 governors of the agreeable 19th galaxy. Thus, it was agreed to share one of the 3 continents of the planet Risk with these beings in distress. Risk has 3 continents, and they are called 1. Zarantu, 2. Danuria, and 3. Cosmosta. These disagreeable beings were only allowed to live on the continent called Danuria. In time, these disagreeables had decided that they wished to rule the whole planet and even the whole galaxy under one such being called Tarnush, who ruled a variety of star systems such as Draco, Aldebaran, Betelgeuse, Pleiades, Andromeda, and others, all on this side of the Milky Way. And then this is where I wanted to get to, right? He says, this, remember how old this book was, right? Recent discoveries have found the 19th galaxy through other star systems where scientists and astronomers have discovered 4 new solar systems. 1. Fomalhaut, where a star is covered by matter. 2. Beta Pictoris, which shows a star covered by dust and a blob below it covered by dust. And 3. HR 4796A, a cloud of dust surrounds which is an infant solar system. 4. Vega, where you see a star and a concentrated spot, then layers of clouds. They have also discovered 2 suns, and listen to this, and they will soon discover a 3rd. On October 8, 1997, astronomers have discovered what they call the most powerful star as of yet and named it the Pistol Star. Now, this was way before this, right? Because of its shape, the star was discovered using the Hubble telescope, which is powerful enough to see eruptions. The magnitude of the star is 9 million times brighter than the sun, as the agreeable beings from the 19th galaxy get nearer to the disagreeable beings from the 18th galaxy. I'm not going to read the rest, but I'm saying he put out information, and now, of course, they've got the James Webb telescope, which is even more powerful than the Hubble telescope, where they're able to, if you're not an astronomer or someone that is studying these things, you're not going to know the differences between, well, as we say, tri-solar systems, etc. But at the end of the day, you tell me how you verify any information that anyone else has put out. All right, we've got another caller. Caller, greetings, Rahubat. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question?
Rahubat second.
Rahubat. Yeah, who's calling?
Yeah, this is Terry.
Hey, Terry. How you doing?
I'm doing my best. How are you, Zuma?
Good, good, good. All right, yeah, let's get to your question.
I'm getting a feedback from your end.
You're getting feedback.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Nah, it might be on your side because maybe have you got YouTube or something on whilst you're on the phone? The volume might be coming back through.
no.
Okay, everyone
Okay,
else has been
let me
okay.
just ask my question.
Okay, go ahead.
Hear it from the other side. Yes. Follow up on the scroll reading. The patriarch, the earth is women.
Sorry, I can't hear. What did you say?
Are you guys one?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm saying just a quick question on the patriarch I'm reading. The title is women.
I heard is women, but I didn't hear the
Yes.
first
So
part. What's the name of the part?
yes. The earth is
Oh, Earth is woman. Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
there's
I'm just gonna grab it.
verses. I'm sure it should be verse 7 or so, where it says the beast man, the homosimian, homoken mixed with the, and she lost her divinity.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it
So
as
my
you speak.
question,
Yeah, go ahead. You can
so my
ask a
question
question. I'm
was,
just trying to find it while you speak. Yeah, if I have it.
Which one is it?
Planet Earth is woman. Go ahead. What's your question?
yeah. So my question, who was the mixing with these men make the woman to lose her divinity, genetic or spiritual level? Like what really made her lose her
What? Okay, I
divinity
got
by
the question. So the
mixing her
question is,
DNA?
what made the woman lose her divinity? I'm sure I got it.
Yes.
Right. The woman made herself lose her divinity because she submitted to her own creation being man. So it's like today, right? A lot of women are far smarter than men, regardless of men's ego or how they want to accept it. But when you're looking at a female, she has an XX chromosome, and
Yeah.
and the woman, and oh, I found it. And the woman, and the man only has an XY. And you can do any studies that will tell you that men or women are far more intelligent than men. And even just her composition, in the fact that if you look at the XX chromosomes, the X is far bigger than the Y, and the genetic material is actually more than the male. The woman has many parts to her body. She actually gives birth and produces both male and female. And she has mammary glands, which, she uses for like breastfeeding and so forth.
Literally, yeah.
Right. And men have them, but they don't use them. So there are many parts of us that we don't utilize. So in terms of how she lost her divinity, what verse did you say it was on? That you were looking?
Verse 15,
15.
verse 7.
Yeah. 7.
Yes, if I'm not
And in those days,
verse
many
7.
mortal women called feminine were tempted by the strength and wildness of this Homo canine human simian full of muscles, right? So, like I said, because the woman saw the muscular nature of the male, right? She started to subdue herself, right? It says 8, they were called masculine, and Panatharu looked on as these interactions sexually between the feminine and the masculine, and they birthed a kind of man, mankind, man's kind, and man's kin. And then it goes on, but if you go to verse 14, it says she lost her divine powers, right? And insight because hers was the responsibility to reject the human beast. So if you read the whole of this part of that, it actually explains that the woman, when she subdues herself under a male, that's how she lost her divinity, because she then forgot and lost how she was able to procreate by herself without the intervention of a male, because the woman was able to reproduce without male because she secreted the fluids, right, into herself. And you can research what we call neurogenesis, pathogenesis. It's gone, right. If you're dealing with the bulbar gland and asexual reproductions, this is like when you have eggs and they can separate. You can have single cells that divide and so on and so forth. So to answer your question, the woman lost her divinity because she fell in love with her creation, to the point where she then got subjugated and suppressed. And that's why even to this day, when you look at the religious world, the men are always put first and they suppress or put the woman, in the background, or cover her up, or, make her like subservient to the male. But as we've come into this new cycle, she's regaining her divinity and coming back into her rightful place, as they say, tribal leader. And if you notice, it was when Parnabab Yanun came and started to teach about the woman is God, right? There's an actual fact called, this is actual fact number 19. Incidentally, the number 19, right? One of the highest numbers in spirituality, right? So it's called, Who is God, Female or Male? And in this, it goes into more detail about the female obviously being, the divine feminine. And let's not get it twisted. Not every feminine is, even though loosely we can say they're sacred because they're the ones that give birth to both male and female, but we're really talking about, when you're saying the sacred feminine, you're talking about a being that has been groomed and has only has not lost her virginity and is brought up in a particular way and has that nine mind. Okay, so this actual fact and that part of the planet Earth as woman goes into the details of, as I was saying here, look, you can see that the XY chromosomes and the mathematics behind that. But yeah, to answer your question again, simply, she lost her divinity because she basically fell in love with her creation, being man, and till this day was suppressed by man. But she's coming back into her power, and it was Parnabab Yanun that started to, teach us and teach the woman about, her power, being the divine feminine. So let me just read a little bit from verse 67. So it was told to Zazaz, man, to join unto his Zazaz tat woman and become one with her. 68. This happens as you exchange body fluids. 69. The word is physical, non-emotional, or become two as one, as is Hamat, husband, and Hamat tat, wife. 70. It states that the man is to become one, jasad, flesh, with her. Why not the other way around? Because she is the goddess. 71. Zazaz, man came out of her, jasad, flesh, and Daman, blood. And once he submits to her, he becomes Gadad, God. Or she is the mother of God, as they teach about Mary and Jesus. 72. The female knows she exists and brings all others into existence. 73. She is the sight of all, the sight of the triple darkness in her raham, womb, 74. So this is the point I really want to make. When you try to overpower the woman or your woman, consort, wife, mate, and force her into submission, the God in her dies. Once she loves a man more than her own self, the God in her dies. 75. Once she is enslaved by her man, the God in her dies, and her man loses interest, he moves on. You see, so it goes on to explain that, you know, the reason how she suppresses herself, because she basically gives her divinity to the man. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see if we can answer some more questions from the chat. I can't find that other question that I was anyway, I can answer it without finding a question. It was to say that Anunnaki is describing an incident of beings that came to the planet Ki, which is the name of the planet in ancient times, sent here by Anu, right, in groups of 50. And that if you refer to that spark, that's your soul. That's when you take your first breath, when you're born and you come here and you take that first breath, the soul gets started. It's like the ignition to give you what we call the burning, where you're taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide, which is the process known as the burning, right? And so that soul ties into your solar plexus. It's in everyone until they actually lose it, because it's to deal with your connection to the soul. And soul, you actually have a plane or a realm, shall I say, called the soul realm, which we like, just like we have the mental realm that you connect to as a mental being. You connect to the soul realm as a soul being. So not everyone has the ability to connect to these higher realms unless they're in tune with those realms. And if you're not in tune with those realms, you're not vibrating on the same frequency or the same resonance. So you can be in tune with other realms below, like the physical realm, like the spiritual realm. But you cannot be in tune with the soul realm if you lose your soul. And this is how everyone is alive, by the spark that starts you of having the burning. And there are different types of fires. So you can have a fire that is light, because remember, light and fire are synonymous, right? So you have different types of light or different types of fires, different colors of light. If we look at the gas, light is blue, right? You have yellow light, you have incandescent light, you have different types of light, which goes into so many types of lights. So I'm saying that you have beings that work of light that is dim or doesn't have the same potency, which is dealing with beings that can vibrate just on the spiritual realm. Which really, when you break it down, it's all energy, different vibrations or different levels of energy. So I couldn't find the exact question, but I know it was saying about how does it relate to the Anunnaki, and I'm saying that it doesn't really relate in that sense, unless when you're looking at when they actually created a hybrid, then they took their blood, yeah, because if you read the scientists like Nagal and you had Ninti, they did the experiment by taking their genetics to create this new being that they created called the Lulu-Amilu, or primitive worker. So in that sense, you can say that the divine spark in them came from those beings that genetically basically made them. It's the same thing when we look at the Adamites. Again, they were made from taking, you know, beings that were already here or evolving, and adding the Pleiadians from Octorus. They used their genetics to breed and make the Adamites. So different beings were creating all types of hybrids at a different time, and some of them came out wrong in the sense of they were deformed and they had like all kinds of. We have another actual fact called what's it called? It's called let me see if I can find it. It's called. Trying to remember the name. It escapes me, but I will come back to it. That's it. Freaks and the perfect creature. Yeah, read that and he explains how these different extraterrestrial beings were creating all types of beings as a competition, as fun, and you know some beings came out with 6 arms, 6 different types of deformities, and you know you see people on the planet that still have some of those genetic traits. Okay, right. Let's go back to the questions on the chat. But the thing is, we say anything that we teach that we can't prove or you can't prove, you don't have to accept it. But there are things that we teach that you can accept, because if it falls into the realm of belief, meaning you haven't experienced it, then to you it's just a belief. But there are people who have traveled there in terms of traveling to these different dimensions, remote viewing, astral projecting. It's just like seeing extraterrestrial crafts. If you've never seen one, to you that's a belief. But for those who have, they know for sure they saw it, right? Let's keep going. No questions. My question is why? Oh, forget that guy. Oh yeah, there was a question here. Whenever I get close to a cooking stove or a fire, I feel this energy like a burning flame on the top of my head. Right. That's because that area that you're talking about is how you come into the physical body, and that's your connection. Is called an etheric cord. That's where you have the etheric connection to beings on the etheric realm. So when we're saying ether, remember ether is energy. That's why, like, when you drink alcohol, for example, it's called ethanol or ethanol. It's actually related because you will feel that vibration when you're close to another source that can react or have an effect on it. It's like, like you get warm when you drink alcohol, right? Because what you're doing is you've already got a fire within you, and that fire is a real life fire. It's not the same as the types of fire you're probably familiar with, but it's like when you do a lot of exercise. Like if you can play, like you play basketball or you run or you do a lot of intensive cardio, you can literally feel the heat coming off your body, and this is why you sweat a lot. And you can actually feel that heat because it's the aura emanating outside of you because of your real life fire. So if you put alcohol, it actually gives you, it's like too much because you've already got it within you and now you're adding more to it. So you start to get hot. And so that's kind of relating to that, the reason why you're feeling that heat. It's even like your body's it's electricity, right? So I don't know if you've ever had this experience. If you wear synthetic like fabrics, if you're in a dark room and you take off a sweater or a jumper that is made up of, you see the sparks actually literally fly off. You can even get electrocuted or shocked. You feel that static, yeah, because your body also is able to react with that synthetic fabric. Right, let's see if there's any more questions. I don't have. You all are just like, you're feeding the force, man. Just allow, like I said, these people that they want to cause chaos and distractions, don't feed the energy, man. We'll see who's going to be left standing and who's going to be, like, we've been here for many, many years and still going strong. So you can say all you like. I'm trying to find questions, no questions. Okay. No questions. Unless you can find some. I've been from the top to the end.
Does masturbation weaken us spiritually?
Yes, it does. Because, well, it depends. Let me clear that
Just in
up.
case they can't hear me.
Yeah.
Just say it.
Right, so apparently someone's asking the question, does masturbation weaken us? You have to remember, yeah, again, if you do everything to the extreme, then of course, like, you're depleting your energy, because, you know, there's energy in semen. Semen produce life. So that's your life force. And the more you waste it frivolously, then you're just, it's like saying, if I lose blood, like, is that going to weaken me? Yes, because the more blood you lose, the weaker you get. And if you've seen people get cut or get, you know, a bad accident, they need to get blood. So when you look up, actually semen is a part of that system because it contains blood. The liquids in your body keep you alive. So if you start to bleed, you're going to lose the liquid. You have blood, white blood cells and red blood cells. And all of that forms part of what you're calling semen. It's just a different form of it, because remember that blood needs to pump, right, to your phallus and to give you what you would call an erection. So you're actually drawing all that, and your heartbeat is involved. Most parts of your body are involved in that process. So yes, it's about, and when people actually abstain or retain, they find that they have more energy to use towards other things. And when you start to look at what you're calling the seats of your body, or like the chakras, the lowest seat is that one that deals with desire and deals with lust and deals with that energy. So you can utilize it or channel it or draw it up to use it mentally, and you find that you're more productive. That's not to say that, you know, obviously if you have a partner or mate or wife and you all are in a healthy, loving relationship, then as grown-ups, you know, what you do in your bedroom is your business. We teach to stay out of people's bedrooms. But obviously, if you're a young person, we know that is, people are losing, the sperm count is getting lower and lower. And some people have got to a point where it's extinction time because they can't have offspring anymore or reproduce because the fertility rate is beyond repair. So yes, it's about thinking about why you're losing your semen, the semen, because they're little tadpole looking like semen which give life. So yeah. Okay, if you find any other questions, let me know. We go caller? All right. Greetings, caller. Rahubat, as we say, greetings. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question?
Rahubat, brother. It's Curtis again from Birmingham.
Hey, Rahubat, Curtis. How you doing? Long time.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, my question's about the Mayas. When is the word missing did Alalu take them to Mars, or do you think our ancestors, the Panataru, took them somewhere else?
They were taken by their own, but yeah, they left the planet. Exactly where they were taken to, I can't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, they were taken just like how we know that beings come and take, you know, like our ancestors and Nibiru and all these other beings are coming to take people away. So I'll have to come back to you on that unless we have any other student teachers in the chat that can answer that or put some information. But I'll have to look. Have you read the Holy Tablets? Because I'm not sure. It might be in there, but I will have to come back to you and do some research on that.
Nah, I've got some of the holy tablets, but I know it's kind of outdated now. So I was wondering if there's any more updates that are going to be
Yeah.
out soon.
What we can do, yeah, I can seek clarity and get more information for you on that one.
Much appreciated, somehow.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Appreciate love
I'll
you
be
too.
back to the show soon, very soon, brother.
No problem. No problem. Now,
Ashok, bro.
Shakal.
Ashok.
Ashok Zaman. Wadu. Okay, we got just over half an hour left. So if you haven't called already, remember the number to dial is, if you're calling from abroad, it's +44 753 996 3882. That's the live number. You can call on WhatsApp. It's free. So, you know, you're not going to spend anything to get your questions answered. All right. So if you have a question you haven't got answered yet, please call in. We'll do our best. The student teachers of the master teacher, Parna Babyanun, Dr. Malachi Z.K. York. Okay, I'm just seeing if there are any other questions I've missed out. Yeah, people that it's a shame that, you know, sometimes we have to remember that people are at different levels. Not everyone is gonna wake up at the same time. Not everyone's at the same level. We have a caller, so let me just interject. Caller, Rahubat, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Yeah, got a question. What is parthenogenesis?
What is parthenogenesis? Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
1 second. Just all right. So I can hear some background.
Yeah, well, but it's the song again. Yeah, just parthenogenesis.
Yeah, you're echoing back, right? So if you can mute or just, I'm gonna go into it. So basically, yeah, we're dealing with a sexual reproduction. You can Google these things. Asexual, so put sexual, SEXUAL, and you can put an A at the front of that. It's a form of a sexual reproduction where an embryo can develop from an unfertilized egg. So without the need for fertilization by a male, yeah? So this is where we're explaining that because the woman, if you go back, right, because it's a riddle, right? It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? People say which came first, the male or the female. And we explained that the female came first, not this hocus pocus religious concept that a being called God took dust from the ground and formed a man and then took a rib from the man to form a woman. That is not scientifically true or factual. So if you go back and study life, right, because we tend to think of life only as humanoids, but if you go back to the first beginnings of life, you'll be dealing with like the amoebas, the algae, and you'll be dealing with someone else. Oh, right. You'll be dealing with how offspring come about. You know, there are other types of beings, reptiles, and beings that lay eggs and then life comes from those eggs without fertilization. Fertilization is when sperm is put and it fertilizes the egg. But you can have beings that lay eggs without being fertilized by a male. So when you're saying pathogenesis, you're dealing with a form of a sexual reproduction, meaning that a woman has both what we would term a penis and a vagina, where liquids are secreted, and she, the what we call the clitoris, is a small penis, and it's able to secrete fluids where she would be able to impregnate herself. This is where the concept of a Virgin Mary comes from, or having a child without a man. This is something that happens in natural nature, and women were able to do that, secrete liquids. And there's an actual documented, let me see if it's in this scroll. There's a documented incident that has taken place, although people try to play it down and say that it's fake news and all that because they don't want you to go and research it. There's a scroll, I think if it's not in this one, it's probably in the Gospel of Yanun, but I'm just trying to find it. But there's an incident with a lady that had children, and there are many women around the world who would tell you they got pregnant and they've never had sexual intercourse or encounters with a male. So women were able to do this. And that's what we're talking about when we're dealing with pathogenesis, which is dealing with a woman being able to impregnate herself and then give birth to offspring. Right, I'm just going to look in the Lotus of Life. Yeah, there you go. I'll read it if I can find a part. This is a nice, big, thick book that goes into, right, here you go, into a lot of information regarding your question. So, you have beings that are referred to as hermaphrodite that can impregnate themselves. And there's a picture here in this book. Bring it a little bit closer, right? There you go, there you go. Right. And if you get hold of this, this is called the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine, the Lotus of Life, right? This is series number 23. You can see and read from, let me go back, just read a little bit of it for you. Originally, women used to give birth to twins. That's why they have two mammary glands or two breasts, because they would be feeding or suckling the babies, one on each side. And there's a diagram in here as well that shows you what I was saying about how, you know, in 6 weeks of gestation, the gender of the gender of the baby is not known, right? But by the time you start to get to like 10 weeks, that's when the gestation starts, and you start to see whether or not like you're going to develop into a female or a male. So the baby is nutrigender at the time of 6 weeks. But let me read this. So it's showing you here in this diagram. It says that if you look at the figure below, you can compare the immature sex organs look the same. 62. After this point, the child, the karad child, will develop male or female organs, thus denoting their physical gender. 63. When a child is carried and the mother is stressed at his delicate stage, the child will be ladud, born with a male gender and a female spirit, or a female gender with a male spirit. 64. That is why it is important not to stress the mother while she's carrying a child. 65. Muknashtatu, hermaphrodites, and muknashu, hermaphrodites were the original deities of this Mikwak planet and were the offspring of those beings from Sabatat, Sirius star system XXY, and Sa'at, Orion star system.
I don't see a system.
See our Siri on these phones is very nosy. Star system XYY. 66. The physical form of this will be those born as conjoined twins were never separated unless one side died, which many did. 67. The Mushnashtatu hermaphrodites and the Muknashu hermaphrodites were raised to be the highest because their physical bodies vibrated on two mitwalat frequencies or tones. All right, so there's a woman here, picture of a woman, Manila, a Philippines, Josie Maria Garcia, a 19-year-old, right, who born with both ovaries and testicles, who has both male and female sex organs, has given birth to 2 children. And it goes on, it gives you that the doctor's picture and all the details about this actually happening. But as I said, some people will try to dispute it, but just do your own research on pathogenesis and asexual reproduction. All right? I don't know if he's still on the line, but yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear?
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Basically, so the 3 religions have got it wrong then.
Yes. Religion is a belief system where people that get together and agree that they follow a book that's written by men, that's translations on translations and translations with mistranslations that can't explain things that they make up and believe. Like they believe a God took dust of the ground to form a man and then took the rib from the man to form a woman. That's how they explain how women came about. But then factually, on the entire planet, every person comes from a woman, which is back to front. So it would not be the norm that every man is going to be born giving birth when men don't give birth. So scientifically proven, it's impossible to say that, like a rib was taken from a man to form a woman. What it is a mistranslation of experiments that were being done by these scientists, these extraterrestrials that were taking blood, right? Dealing with genetics, as the marrow of the bone is where you find the purest blood, because blood replenishes itself. So they were telling you that they were going into the marrow to take the blood, you see? And so this is the misinterpretation or misinformation when it comes to religion, because they didn't understand and were able to interpret the scriptures properly. They just made these lies up. Whereas we know no man has given birth to a human yet. So
that's a fact.
Actual facts. Then we ask the question, did Adam have a belly button? Because he's a man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because the umbilical cord is connected to the mother to nurture and grow the baby in her womb. Even when they want to use scientific like reproduction system like IVF, that you still need to inject into the womb, or whether it's done in an artificial way, but you still need an incubator to do this. And so the woman is always still required in the process of reproduction.
So what's the reason why do you think the 3 major religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, have suppressed the female, when in actuality she's supposed to be respected as a creator?
So they can be in control. and now this is why I'm saying, like, because that time has come where the secrets that were hidden are being told. Now the woman has to take her rightful place. She knows. The women always knew, but they were just, like I said, they became subservient because they volunteered to do that. And then what do they tell you? Behind every successful man is what? A
A
successful
woman,
woman or a woman.
successful woman.
But
Yeah.
why do they say behind? Because they're trying to tell you they're hiding her and suppressing her behind. Whereas in Wu-Sabat, we don't have this stay behind. You know, we walk together. In ancient Egypt, what people call Kemet, you always saw the male and the females ruling together. It was a matriarch. Whereas the whole man thing, man rulership, man worship, all came by way of the patriarch system from Abraham by way of these Anunnaki, and it went into the different cultures where they suppressed the woman. But we know that if you give her her rightful place, then she will in turn empower you because she's far smarter than you. It's kind of like the whole thing with racism where other races will suppress other races, which doesn't make sense because then they're not able to grow faster, or like, you know, we won't develop as humanity if you're suppressing your best. It's like having a football team and you got the best players sitting on the bench. It's like you're not going to perform as good as if you had all the best players actually playing in the game on the pitch. So yeah, we have to remember that it's her time. It's the woman's time.
This is why the master teacher surrounded himself with female, because he was trying to raise up the woman or the feminine back to her rightful position.
Right, which in turn will make us great because they're smart enough to know, and they use. That's why that book I was reading from, the Gospel of Yanun on the Sacred Feminine, is going into the left and right brain and how, you know, we must come together, right, to basically use both sides. So let me read a little bit. It says, I, Yanun, proclaim to you the eternal soul, which or who is connected to the Kalim Mahwanat omniverse from this Wahu Makwan universe and has manipulated through us here on the physical earth. 39. So I proclaim to you that you can see and hear, so that you also may have links to all, as all of you, right? Pa'ut, the all. Know this. Left brain is male power, analytical, and right brain is Asha, female, images. 41. These two must become one for perfection of thinking and doing. Nashat, energy, in motion or emotional beings. Ba'a, soul. Yeah, so it's explaining why, you know, the females wear the braid and we wear, you know, the mijal, which signifies us having, you know, it's a signification of the medulla oblongata, which, you know, ties into the stem of your brain, right? So it says here that the M other, when you look at the word mother, you're seeing M because the M is a representation of the mitochondrial DNA, which only the female passes from female to female. The males do have mitochondria, but what happens is that when you look at a sperm, you have the head and you have the tail. What happens is that the part that breaks off, which is in the male sperm, doesn't get passed from offspring to offspring. But with the mother, she's able to maintain the genetic record of females from the very beginning till now, because she passes that on from female to female. So we, the males, we wear the mijal, the braid in the back of our head to relate to the medulla oblongata. Both mother and father, male and female, need to connect and use the frontal lobe of the brain, right, which is the nanas gatat, which is the pineal gland. You know, so this is all, there's a science to how we should come together, both male and female, to basically be the most powerful that we can be. But yeah, in religion, it deals with blind faith, you know. And the Bible and the Quran, they dwell in darkness, and because they say that God said, "Let there be light," you know. Yeah, so it's all about us giving the female back their power. It's only males that are fearful and weak and egotistical and not able to listen to women that fear giving women back their power.
We've messed up the planet. The male have. They're the ones that are causing all the wars,
Exactly.
creating all of the disease, killing. It's man.
But you
So
know what?
women have to take over.
That's right. So that's pathogenesis. You can actually research that for anyone who doesn't. Remember, we always say don't believe us, check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah, don't believe us,
So
check it out. Yeah, go ahead.
Just got another question. So you're talking about the mitochondria at the end of the sperm.
Yeah.
What happens to that? Does the woman, obviously the woman neutralizes that, or
That's right. Yeah, it gets
what happens to that?
neutralizes. It neutralizes. Yes. So only the head part at the tail gets neutralized, and only the head goes, to be fertilized in the woman's in her ovum. Yeah.
So the mitochondria from the male, the female takes that on, or it becomes part of the female.
No, that what I'm saying is it doesn't get passed on, whereas because the female cancels it out, and it's only the females that pass it on to female. This is why, the females are the one that maintain the record, the genetic record. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Tautak.
Yeah. Another no, we're untapped at the for. Another thing you can look at is the bulbal gland, right? Also known as the bulbourethral gland. Yeah, which is it's a small exocrine gland in the male for reproductive system, but like we said, the male doesn't do the same thing that the female does. All right, we got another caller, so I'm
Hello.
Okay, Tawa.
It's a small
Rahubat Jamal, Rahubat caller.
Hello.
Yeah, Rahubat. Greetings. What's your name?
Hi,
Where you calling
greetings.
from? And what's your question, please?
Hi, yeah, it's Paul. I'm calling from Manchester.
Greetings.
Yes. Greetings. Yeah, my question's sort of geared around or centers around law, statutes, man-made law versus natural law.
Yeah.
So I just want to get your take on your view on the difference between what you class as, what society classes laws, which in my mind are man-made laws, legislative rules of society, versus natural law, which I would class as the creator's law, natural law, God's law, or just nature's law.
Yeah. You were kind of mixing up because, like we said, when you said God's law, that's where I was kind of a little bit getting thrown off. But you have natural nature, and then you have man-made. Yeah. So natural nature is the law that governs, or the highest. That's what our information is based on. We have natural law, or natural ether energy, right? This is why nature, the word nature is where you get the word material becomes, because you're dealing with beings that were in tune and connected to nature. So natural nature is always going to be superior to man-made nature. You see this every day when you have natural, what they call disaster, right? That's when you see hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, floods that will come through and actually cause more havoc than, you know what I mean? Yeah, so natural, the sun in itself is part of that. So this is why society and we because you live in an environment. If you go to different sovereign nations or different countries, they will have their own laws that govern. But if you can go to another country or to another society, and those laws do not apply. So you have where people will say, at this age is where you're now an adult, and you can do this and do that, you can do this and do that. But natural nature will say different. So,
Yeah.
like for example, natural nature determines when males and female are actually adults, not because somebody else imposes
A rule.
a age rule that they say this is when you become an adult. So,
Yeah.
so although, like we say in this in the Western, most of the Western countries, they say you're an adult at 18, which is no coincidence because it ties into what they use to govern, which is 6 ether forces. So you look at 18, you're looking at 6 plus 6 is 12, plus another 6 is 18. No coincidence. But yet, a child or a female, when they start their menstrual cycle, is when they can start to have, they could have a child. Even at like 13, 14, 15. Not to say that's what, we're advocating. I'm just saying that natural nature's way of doing things is different from what people will say, this is how you should do it. But of course, we're not telling anyone to break the laws, because you have to kind of like, you got Caesar's, you can't serve two masters, right, as they say. So, but we advocate natural nature and natural law, which became what people were calling common law, as opposed to dealing with admiralty or dealing with commercial law or dealing with commerce, which is a whole different subject in itself. But,
I get that. Sorry to cut you,
No
but
problem,
the
go on.
reason why I'm mentioning it is because I've had a bit of experience with statutes and bailiffs specifically that follow statutes.
Yeah.
And they've come to me with they say laws, as far as I'm concerned, in my mind, they're just rules, legislative rules of society.
Yeah.
And I've been able to...
yeah, that's why you're supposed to know the law. If you know the law well, then you can defend yourself for being. But then again, they can still, even with knowing the law, this is what we're talking about in terms of, say, the incarceration of people illegally or unlawfully.
Correct.
And there are all types of injustices that, even with knowing the law, they can still bypass it to a certain degree, where laws are and rules, laws are made to control certain people. And this is why some people, they will tell you you're not above the law. But there are people who, think that the law doesn't apply to them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, for me, is the more that I learn about their rules, it empowered me. So what I'm saying is that the more that people discover more about these rules, legislative rules of society versus natural law, they'll discover that if they sit in natural law more but understand the rules, then that it gives them the strength, the power to be able to deal with a lot of the nonsense that
100%.
comes across, and the enslavement that these people, these so-called authorities try to put on us. Like, for example, trying to enforce certain bills on us that we don't need to really pay. Like, for example, TV license, I don't pay that. They've knocked on my door. I've told them straight up that I don't watch TV because I don't. And they wanted to come in and then inspect. Well, no, they don't have any authority to come into my property to inspect anything.
I hear you.
And I just stood up in that, knowing full well that I don't watch television, and I didn't need to let them in because they don't have any power or authority over me.
Yeah.
And they've never been back since. So I think the more people, again, it's
that's
about
one
knowledge.
of the things
The
we
more
teach.
knowledge people get and understand about what's really going on in the world, then it empowers them to stand up against so-called authorities that try to impose themselves on us.
Right. Thanks for your, yeah. That's what we teach. You study everything. Study
Yeah.
and learn the facts about things so that you can actually, you know, be in a better position, or informed position when
Yeah.
you're dealing with law. All right. I appreciate love your call. And is that it,
Yeah.
or do you have anything else?
Yeah, that was it really for
Okay.
now. But
No
yeah,
problem.
keep up the great works.
Tawat. Wadu. Yeah, like it says in the Bible and stuff, like, you know, you have laws, like they call them the commandments. You know, thou shalt not kill, for example, is one of the commandments a lot of people will quote. But then in man-made laws, you've got judges that are presiding, that different countries that would even have things like, you know, death row, or put people on the electric chair and take and sanction people to take their life. So this is what we're saying, like, which laws do you follow? But then when you look at the the God of the Bible, he himself is, you know, does a lot of things that don't make sense in terms of being unjust and so on. All right, but yeah, I mean, we in Wu-Sabat, we focus on Wu-Sabat, but we do teach about natural nature, natural law, natural ether energy, and when you're vibrating on natural law, then, you know, you can be yeah, nature itself will be your guide and protection. So it's a fair point. Okay, wow, we're running out of time. We're coming to the last 7 minutes. So if you haven't got your question in, you still got a bit of time. So are people ignoring, I'm going from the bottom just to see if I can answer. The question is, so are people ignoring the facts out of ignorance by believing according? That's what the word means. This is why we say to people, research words. When you say ignoring, the word ignorance actually literally means to ignore facts, right? So you can say, I ignore the truth, but it doesn't change the truth. You can ignore it all you like, but it's still going to be the truth. The facts are going to be the facts. So yes, you're right that by ignoring the facts, that's what you're calling ignorance. Ignorance. Check it out. That's what it means, right? So to ignore the facts, it's believing, because belief is based on, you don't need to check it out. You don't need to prove it. I just believe it. I just believe one day someone's going to come out of the sky to save me. Okay, that's your belief. Where's the evidence? Where's the facts? Where is the proof? And can you give us like dates and times and locations and mode of transportation, how they're going to come, where they're going to come? You know, when we start going into the details, that's why you know it's a belief. You can believe anything you want. It's your right. But belief cannot really help you or sustain you. It's like you can believe, like, I'm going to get home and I'm going to get there and open my door. But if you don't have the route, the direction to get there and the key to open the door, it's not actual fact. You know, that's just what belief is. It's just based on what you believe. All right, let me see if there are any other questions. So if we can't check it out and we can't check it out, then what? But you can apply that to everything in your life. This is what we say, like the things you know right now in your life that you have confirmed to yourself to be true. If you ask yourself, how did you know that to be true? It's going to come from either evidence, reasoning, or experience, right? These are the three tests you can use to deduce whether something is true or not. It could be one of them, two of them, or all of them, right? Because sometimes you're not able to experience something because you may not have the means or the opportunity to experience it. But do you need to experience everything? No. If you want to know what's going to happen to you as a being composed of matter, if you were to go to a high building or a high floor and drop, you know, the likelihood is that if you want to test that out without actually experiencing it, you can take some kind of fruit or, you know, something and throw it down and see what happens to it. You know, so what we're saying is not everything you're going to be able to experience. Some things you can. So that in that situation, you have to use reasoning. and use your mental. This is why you have different beings. You have a mental being, so you can use your mind to think and to actually come to conclusion based on reasoning. Does it make sense? Does it really make sense? Because truth makes sense. It reasons out, and you will feel the vibration and the resonance. Truth is truth. If someone's telling you something that doesn't add up, you might look at them and even if you're going, I'm not quite sure, but deep down you're saying, nah, that don't make sense. I'm going to have to go and check it out myself. Unless you're very gullible and you just accept anything anyone tells you, then, you know, you can accept it. But people have accepted things for thousands of years, and it's just a belief that has not come true or never been proven. All right, so let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, not everything you're going to be able to check out. And you can look at Google, look at, you know, all the sources of information you have on the planet. That's what I was saying about the books. Like, when Dr. York puts out information, he tells you, don't believe me, check it out. And you can go and research it. There's like museums, archaeologists have got findings. You know, there are many, many, many recordings in different cultures of different things. Read everything on the planet. Study everything if you can. And see whether or not Dr. York's the only person saying it. And there are things you're not going to be able to check out if someone's coming from a time period or has information that you can't check out. He warned us. He told us this from the beginning. He says, there's going to come a time when I'm going to take you to a point and give information that no one else is going to be able to, because I'm a visitor. I'm not from here. That's how you tell the difference from someone that just regurgitates or teach the same information everybody else has been doing for thousands of years, or someone that's going to come with new information that you've never heard before, but then in time it gets confirmed and verified. You see, so that's called predictions, and it's documented. We can go back to books he wrote in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and everything he's ever said has now been confirmed. So what do you say then? Okay. Yeah, Bartholin gland. That's what I was trying to remember before. Yeah. And you have to remember that you've got other cultures. It's not everything that you're taught in the West. It's not just Western scientists. There are scientists that are in the, you know, East and other cultures as well. So, yeah. All right, we're coming to the last minute. Like I say, how do you know anything you know is true? How do you know? You have to check it out. You have to research. Okay, and look at what scientists and other people that actually base what they say on research and evidence are saying. But of course, like everything else, there are agendas and people who suppress information or distort information for their own benefit. It's just like, you know, during the COVID or whatever pandemic that has taken place, you get two sides. People that say this works, this doesn't work, this is true, this is false. And it's for you to use your discernment to actually get to the truth. Okay, we've come to the end. I've gone through the chat. I don't see any. Oh, do you know what? I saw someone that gave us a donation or some love earlier on, and I didn't big them up. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I forgot. I was on the phone at the time. Solar Ray, want to thank you. Appreciate love for your donation. And yeah, sorry we didn't say it at the time, but I'm going to make sure that we show you some love for showing us love. Remember, join the Telegram group. We have classes twice a week live, and throughout the week you can join OSM Vision for classes around the world. And yeah, just 24/7 spreading truth. Wu-Sabat is the future. Hope to see you in it. All right. So thanks again. Like, share, subscribe, because, you know, that helps us to get information to more people. All right. Until next week, same time, same place. OSM Vision, our souls matter. I'm Saken. Wadu.